Just your friendly reminder that we do have folks on the WebEx connection, so make sure you turn on your microphones when you speak.
All right, good evening. I'm going to call the Tuesday, December 13, 2022 Rivendell City Council meeting to order. Welcome, everyone, and ask that Nicole take roll call, please.
Blake?
Here.
Carberry Montgomery? Here. Kroll?
Here.
McBurney?
Here.
Obrecht?
Here.
Thank you. Please stand as you're able for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Rivendell is a national leader in character counts, endeavoring at all times to promote and model the principles of trustworthiness, respect, responsibility, fairness, caring, and citizenship. In conducting tonight's meeting, we expect that all participants elect in a respectful manner consistent with these principles. All right, item 2 is to approve the agenda. Is there a motion and a second?
So,
Second by Blake, second by Obrecht. Discussion, please vote. All right, that passes. Thank you. Item 3, Citizens Forum. This is the opportunity to address the council on something that's not a part of tonight's agenda. Would anyone like to address the council at this time? Ray?
Mr. Mayor, City Council members, it is once again my pleasure to say thank you, and that's a thank you from all the members of the community of Urbandale, Iowa, and particularly the 4th of July Celebration Committee. So with that in mind, and saying thank you, we thought we would like to perpetuate our gifting to you, to say thank you, so that we all can be recognized within City Hall. So if you would please, Mr. Mayor, and the council members who are on the committee, please join us for a picture. I think Larry is here as well. Larry, will you join us? Yeah, okay. And then Raquel. And if somebody will give me a phone, I'll take a picture. You're in it, right? You're in it. Is the right side up? Love to do it. Good. Okay. On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Great. All right.
We're trying to plug ourselves.
To the committee, thank you very much. I mean, again, the 4th of July is always a hallmark in Urbandale, as we all know. So, but it's not done automatically. So, thank you for your efforts and thanks for the recognition on that. We truly appreciate that. All right, is there anyone else like to address the council on something not a part of tonight's agenda? All right. Seeing none, then we'll move on. Item 4 is to approve the minutes from the November 29 meeting.
Move approval of the minutes of November 29th.
Okay, motion by Carberry Montgomery. Second by Blake. Discussion, please vote. Okay, that passes. Item 5 is the consent agenda. There are 9 items for approval.
Mayor, can we remove item 5.5 from the consent agenda for regular consideration?
All right, we will then take the balance other than 5.5.
Then I'll make a motion.
Balance?
What's that?
Do you want to move the balance?
What do you mean? Oh, yeah, that's what
We removed 5.5.
Yeah, sorry, that's what I'm doing right now. Is gonna go ahead and make a motion to approve the consent agenda minus item 5.5.
Okay, motion by McBurney.
Second.
Second, Carberry Montgomery. Discussion, please vote. Okay, that passes. You want to discuss item 5.5?
Yes, I would. I just want to bring it back up for consideration because I think the last city council meeting, I unfortunately was not as prepared for it as I thought I was. I was under the impression that there was going to be a process to allow for permits for mailboxes. That's my mistake. I just want to make sure that we're taking into consideration that we're doing this for the right reasons. I think previously it was cited that safety was the biggest concern. I went and did some research, and it looks like there was a study that was done in 2013. Unfortunately, that was the last study that I could find on it. And it was done by the Texas A&M Transportation Institute, funded by the Roadside Safety Pooled Fund. And it was conducted across 28 states. Through their analysis, they found that there was no statistical difference between having a policy and not having a policy. And I think that we are passing an ordinance for no reason other than to say that it's for safety. But there's no data to support that.
Okay. Matt, did you want to comment?
Yes. As we've discussed for 2 meetings now, there's one, again, all other communities across the metro, none of them have the ability to have custom mailboxes. We're the only community that has this. It has created issues because we had somebody come in here with a $500 mailbox that would likely not have occurred if we didn't have customizable mailboxes. And when it comes to safety, it would be interesting to see what those dynamics of what those mailboxes were. Again, if you look at my neck of the woods, there's literal brick mailboxes that I'm assuming could be quite damaging to individuals, either in cars or on bikes or any version of this, that can cause damage to both cars, property, and individuals. I don't understand why we are bringing this up yet again when we have discussed this at length twice. But I understand your concern, but I don't understand why we would try to hold on to something when every other community has decided that they wanted to move away from it and move towards the uniformity of just having what is recommended by the federal government and recommended by the post office of what they consider to be a safety and the correct way to do it. And they do it and they hit mailboxes all the time and they've done it across the entire United States. So I would take the word of what the post office recommends versus a customizable box that we have with our particular neck of the woods. So with that, I don't know.
Well, I guess.
Sorry for those in the room, this has been a debate we've had.
A little passionate. So Larry, what are you wanting? Are you wanting us to start over and go down a permit process, or?
I would like to see that we have some sort of permitting process for somebody that wants to assume the liability of building a custom mailbox. And do we currently have standards in place as part of new construction or any type of regulation to show how far back a mailbox needs to be as it stands today?
The post office does. I mean, you still have to follow post office regulations no matter what, so.
Yeah.
Right, but we don't have anything then I would like to see us look at ways in which other communities have incorporated some sort of break and jump. Do you have
As far
something?
as, Matt, your argument that every other community does this, well, our logo is uniquely Urbandale, so.
It's not uniformly?
Yeah. Sometimes we can't be unique.
That we do have a standard that we've had on our website on a post mailbox and a brick mailbox that's been out there for several years. One thing that's maybe different on new developments, pretty much the cluster style mailboxes are all the post office is allowing. So just wanted to put that clarification.
Okay, but we do we enforce that at all?
It's just there for reference.
Just there for reference? Okay, so we don't send somebody out there
No,
as part of the inspection process to look at it?
we do not.
Okay.
But the post office won't deliver unless it meets their guidelines either.
Right. I know it has to be a certain height and the mailbox has to be a certain depth away from the curb, but I just want to make sure that if we have some sort of standard that we're enforcing it and that we do have a permitting process to allow folks who want to go down that avenue. And I don't see this being a thing that we're going to see a lot of permits coming in for. I don't see a lot of people coming in saying, I want to have a customized mailbox, but I think it should be an option.
And I guess I'd like to see them obviously as an option, as I mentioned last time. If it's that we don't allow the brick ones, that they still have to be a breakaway something, but you can customize it all you want as long as it's breakaway, okay. And that's what the permitting process will allow for. It's just I don't like seeing the uniformity down the road. I like seeing the different ones.
Yeah, and if there is a different material which gives them the same look, then I'm open to that. But I think that just outright saying no doesn't give people the freedom to be able to do what they want with their property.
To point, just to be clear, a mailbox is a receptacle for getting mail. That is the entire utility purpose of this object. To me, trying to just make sure that we have, sorry, I just thought we decided this.
Okay, well, let me just try to wrap it all on this thing right now from where we are today. We are at the second reading of this. We've had the first reading, which has been approved. We have the second reading. I would entertain a motion for the second reading. If you have any suggested language to change on it, there's still going to be a third reading on this as well. So I don't know where the second reading is going to come out, but I would, at this point, entertain a motion to approve the second reading.
Can we, based on just prior to the meeting discussion with our limited attendance at the next meeting, could we defer the second reading or the third reading to the first meeting in January?
If you want to defer this one tonight, we can defer this as long as you want. So
I'm okay with it.
If you want to, if somebody makes a motion to defer the second reading tonight.
I'll move that we defer the second reading of item 5.5 to the first council meeting in January 10th.
January 10th.
And to hopefully can finalize discussion at that point.
That's a motion to defer at this point. So.
Yeah.
All right, motion by Carberry Montgomery, second by Obrecht. Any further discussion at this point? You got that, Nicole? In there. All right, so if not, please vote. All right, that passes. Thank you. Item 6, public hearings. First is item 6.1, a public hearing to consider the consideration of bids for the Parks and Public Works PV array. The public notice for this is published in November 25, 2022, Des Moines Register, and has any objections to that notice is published.
There were none.
That's for motion to open the public hearing. Motion by McBurney, second by Obrecht. Discussion, please vote. All right, that passes. And introducing, this is our Director of Public Works and Engineering, John Larson. John?
All right, there we go. Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. This is our bid tabulation for our Parks and Public Works PV array project. It was on December 7th, last Wednesday, we received 2 bids for the project. We're recommending the low bid from Tri-City Electric Company of Iowa in the amount of $518,964, but not to include alternate number 1. Alternate number 1 would have reduced the overall system to a smaller system, but looking at the payback, it's actually a little more expensive with a smaller system, and it would actually increase the payback a little bit. That's why we're recommending the base bid. The low bid from Tri-City is approximately $4,500, or just about 1% higher than our architect's estimate of $514,500. And we're anticipating that this work could be done by January of 2024. So a little bit about the system. So we're looking to install a 225 kilowatt PV array system that would have a anticipated life of 25 to 30 years, and it would be able to provide approximately 2/3 of the power needed for the building. I know we talked before, and it says in the council memo about a 15%, kind of a federal grant or a credit. We had misinterpreted that the fact that we had used taxes and bonds, that we were held to 15%. It just means we have 15% reduction from whatever we could be awarded. The rough part about this is, it's kind of like a lot of these grants, they don't have the framework in place yet, so they can't really tell us how do we go about getting a credit, because we don't actually file a tax return or anything like that, so they're still working on that information. So unfortunately, we just don't know a lot about the program yet. But looking at it, if we looked at kind of our current usage and what we're currently paying for power or electric, it looks like it'd be roughly, 21 years for our payback, and then if we have a life of 25 to 30, that's when we'd see some return on our investment. And again, that could be brought down greatly with the credits, just unfortunately, we just don't know enough details about those at this time. So I guess with that, I'd be glad to try to answer any questions.
All right, thank you, John. Any questions?
Yeah, I guess the bid, how long is it? Is it a 30-day bid? What's the time frame on
Yeah,
that?
typically we continue for one meeting, keeps us within our guidelines. With this being the architects, Kipper, is it 30 days or 45? 30, so yeah, we do have the 30. I don't know, backwards, I don't know if we'll know anymore in 30, or in another meeting if we wait. I think it's gonna be a while before all the rules and everything that apply would be out.
Right, and it's just that, obviously, that credit is a big deal. Because is it a 15% credit? And what is the credit potential?
Again, I assume it could be as high as 85%. If we got 100% and they took the 15 off, we could get 85, but at the same time, we could get 0. I mean, we just don't know the details yet. It sounded like, again, as a tax exempt entity, we'd be able to get a grant or a credit, but just no idea how it's gonna work or how much it could be.
And so this is a credit from the new upcoming legislation that was just passed, not, okay, I'm just clarifying.
The one that passed a month ago.
The inflation, yeah.
Correct, yeah, correct. So that's where, again, it just hasn't been out long enough for all the details to have been worked out.
Okay.
But that's a potential $460,000 credit we're talking about.
Right.
Yeah, that's a big number to me.
Yep.
And so that's where I didn't know if there was a way for us to either learn more about the credit before the bids are done, or make this approval subject to the credit application.
Yeah,
And I don't know if there's a timeline on that to say if,
But I guess I could say, like I said, staff, Nikki Lamb was on the webinar last Thursday, and basically a lot of it was, we don't know yet. We don't know. So I don't think we'll know in time, and I don't think we could really accept the bid contingent on learning this either. We could delay 2 weeks. I don't think we'll know anymore, but we either have to decide to reject the bids or move forward at this time.
John, this is Amy, and from my understanding, the credit was available for any purchases after January 1, 2023.
Okay.
so if we approve this tonight, we're not January 1, 2023.
It depends, I guess, and I don't know how they classify purchases versus payments. We enter the contract, but we won't make any payments till after the first. Again, I don't know the answer to that.
Should we defer this?
And I'm happy to vote.
I'll vote for this deferral. But to defer this till the beginning of next year, is that gonna screw everything up, if that's the case?
If that's, are the bids good till January 10th?
I don't believe they would be, because again, we took bids on December 7th, so our 30 days. I think there's always a possibility of the contractor will honor past the 30 days. We'd have to check if we could
Could
legally
we
do that.
inquire about that and take action at the next meeting? Or I would be open to having a very quick Zoom meeting just to make sure that have our I's dotted and T's crossed the first week of January before these.
Just to build on what John said, I spoke to Nikki today. She was unable to be here tonight. She reiterated that at her webinar last week, this question was asked numerous times. When does this apply? When does, what dates are going to be applicable? And they just didn't have an answer for it. And whether we will by the end of December, we can't tell you that will happen. We kind of looked at it in our internal discussion we had yesterday with John and Nikki and I, was we kind of looked at this like kind of the beginning of ARPA. you know, there was a allocation of monies, and then there was rules being promulgated by the Department of Treasury. And so that took them a while to filter through comments and establishing the rules, and then they made various alterations to it. That's the only thing recently we can say that there's money available for this, and they identified it. But the other terms and conditions of how you collect, what percentage, when the time frame, it is designed for 23, but again, installation in 23, you accept the contract, but you don't make payment. Some of those details we just don't have, and I don't anticipate that we'll get them by the end of December, because as we all know, things generally slow down in the month of December for lots of different reasons. And I don't expect that from the federal perspective, unless they have hardcore rules that they are ready to implement, which would be a bit unusual, that we're gonna know anything by the 27th. Could you have, you know, John can check to see if the contractor will honor it past 30 days. Could you have a special meeting if we learn more? Certainly with a 24-hour notice and depending upon everybody's schedule. So our flexibility is, at this point, much greater than the information we have available.
And I'll be probably, you know, I'm one of the biggest proponents of this program and maintaining this, but I would be loath to leave money on the table that would cost taxpayers.
Yeah.
So, you know, if we gotta figure out ways to delay in order to make this happen, I would be for it.
Well, I think that we should not approve it until after January 1st, just in case that's the starting period, as Amy alluded to in what she's read. I don't know if she was on the webinar or not either, but either check with the contractor to see if they'll give us till the 10th, or have a special meeting before the 7th.
Well, I think if we were gonna approve this 3 months ago, not knowing it, we would have, I can't say how we would vote, but what changes? I mean, this isn't going to be the only project, presumably, that's gonna be qualifying for this type of grant.
Oh, well, I'm absolutely gonna vote for this when we have the vote. I just wanna make sure that we're having the correct date on the document is my concern.
And I go back to the shovel-ready projects that happened about 10 years or so ago. There was a date of, if it's on the books already, you can't apply the grant towards it. And so that's where, if they're looking at January 1, if this technically isn't on the books, now it could potentially qualify. So I
It
guess,
seems like it's reasonable that even if we had to have a special meeting to meet the 30 days, I think we could do that, and we'd still be after the first then.
right, I mean, if a contractor's not willing to go the 3 days, I'm not sure that, I mean, we're 3 days past the bid date if we go to the 10th meeting. If they're willing to extend, if they're not willing to extend, holding a special meeting between the 1st and the 7th, I think is prudent. Because I mean, it's 400, what changed? There's 460 grand on the table.
Possibly.
Possibly.
Right, it's an unknown. I mean, 3 months ago versus now, that's the difference.
All right, so we are in
I'm
public hearing
looking
on
at
this.
information.
What, Amy, what were you saying?
I was just gonna say, I'm looking at the information right now. It says the measure becomes effective for tax years beginning after December 31st, 2022.
We are in public hearing on this tonight. I think the appropriate thing to do, Bob Layden, correct me if I'm wrong, but just continue have the public hearing. We'll close the public hearing, then continue this to at least to the December 27th meeting, and then we can take it.
Or December, just table it, I think, and then you can pull it off the table at any future meeting.
Yeah, Bob, are you there?
I am, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. We are in public session, so you could either close the public hearing or table it, either one, whatever's
Well, should we
prerogative of the council.
if we keep the public hearing open to the next, if we just table it, we don't have to publish this again?
Correct. We just motion to untable whenever our next meeting, whenever we want to have it.
Without closing the public hearing?
Yes.
Okay.
We open the public hearing at that time.
Well, no, it would just be continued indefinitely. So, we are in public hearing here tonight. If anyone is here to address this issue tonight, I will take comments from anybody here tonight if anyone would like to address that. Okay, seeing none, then I'll ask for a motion to
Make a
table this.
motion to table this to a future meeting.
Okay, motion by Obrecht, second by Blake. Any further discussion? If not, please vote. Okay, that passes. Thank you. Item 6.2 is a public hearing and consideration of bids for the satellite salt storage building. The public notice for this was also in the Des Moines Register on November 25, 2022, and ask are there any objections to that notice as published?
There were none.
Ask for motion to open this public hearing. So moved. Motion by Blake, second by McBurney. Discussion, please vote. Okay, that passes. John?
So this is our bid tabulation for the satellite salt storage building. So it was back on December 7th. We also, it's the same bid period. We also received 9 bids for this project. We're recommending the low bid from the Concrete Connection LLC in the amount of $775,000. The low bid, it shows here is approximately $180,000 or 29% more than our architect's estimate. The good news is we have a larger number in the CIP, so we're only about $65,000 short. It's still over what we'd originally anticipated, but we do have funds to cover that, so we're still recommending to move forward. Again, we did get a lot of bids, and I don't think bidding this at a later date, we're gonna get any better or lower bids. And we keep on the schedule, we should be ready for to be storing salt in there next winter, next snow season. So again, this is just a precast concrete building for storage of the salt. We'll be able to store approximately 1,700 tons of salt. And then just kind of where it's at, so it's on the right-hand side, here's Waterford Road. At the bottom is 170th Street. So over here is where we recently built our satellite maintenance facility at the fuel island. So we're over on this side of the concrete is where we're looking to add the salt storage. And you can kind of see around the outside. In the future, we'd like to add some material storage bins and a little bit more concrete around this area for the site. And then here's just kind of looking at a rendering of what the building will look like. It'll be still the same tip-up concrete, still same kind of pattern as what we have on the maintenance building and what we have down on Hickman Road as well. So with that, I'd be glad to answer any questions.
All right, thank you, John. Any questions for John?
So that's an open
Correct.
shelter, or I don't know what the right word is.
Correct, there's no door on it, correct, it is open.
Is that a attractive nuisance to, I mean, this is slightly more residential than our,
We are, if you look, I mean, right now, we're above everything. We've got room for planned store or expansion of the building, which would be another block. We're looking to we'll plant some trees on this side, and we're quite a ways away from the residential.
well, I just, kids. And you don't think they'll get
No,
in there?
I'm just not,
Okay.
typically, you just don't put the doors on your salt storage.
Well, I'm just glad to see us finally moving this forward. I guess with that,
Well, we're still in public hearing. We are in public hearing on this item. Would anyone like to address the council on this item? Okay, ask for a motion and a second to close the public hearing.
I move to close the public hearing.
Motion by Carberry Montgomery, second by Blake. Discussion, please vote. That passes. Now with that, you have 3 items for consideration.
Okay, I will move approval of resolution 284-2022.
Motion by Carberry Montgomery, second by McBurney. Discussion, please vote. It passes.
I will move approval of resolution 285-2022.
Motion by Carberry Montgomery, second by McBurney. Discussion, please vote.
approval of resolution 286-2022.
Motion by Kirby Montgomery,
Just,
second by McBurney. Discussion, please vote.
just a moment, if I may, Councilmember Blake, your vote on the last motion didn't come through. Excellent, thank you.
We have all the votes in on this, okay, so that passes. All right, thank you. Item 6.3 then is a public hearing and consideration of bids for the North Walnut Creek Bank stabilization from Hickman Road to Roseland Drive. The public notice for this was also on November 25, 2022, Des Moines Register. Ask any objections to that notice is published.
There were none.
That's for a motion to open the public hearing. Motion by McBurney,
Second.
second by Carby Montgomery. Discussion, please vote. Okay, that passes. John?
So this is our bid tabulation for the North Walnut Creek Bank stabilization. That's in the general area of Hickman Road to Roseland Drive. Also, last Wednesday, we received 10 bids on this project. We're recommending the low bid from Nagel Construction LLC in the amount of $500,458.90. This one was approximately $68,000 or 16% more than our engineer's estimate. This is another one where we had money set aside for this that was in a larger amount, so we do have the funds for this. And we're anticipating the project being completed by May 5th of 2023. So this kind of shows where we're at. On the left here is 86th Street, Hickman Road is on the bottom, and then here's 78th Street. So it's this portion of North Walnut Creek that we'll be working on. So basically we'll be kind of laying back the slopes, installing riprap, so we'll create some riffle grade control structures, some bendway weirs, and some stilling basins. So just kind of show you what the channel looks like, some different spots. As you can see, we have some vertical banks and a lot of erosion to where we're starting to lose trees on the bank. A couple different locations as typical examples. And then here's just, it happens to be another one where you can see the tree is about to come over, and when they do come down, of course, then they start damming up the water. So our intent is, again, to correct the banks and clean up the debris. We will need to remove some trees with this project to get access, but again, I think the overall improvement will be worth it here. So just to kind of show you the details. So this rock riffle grade control, basically, that's kind of a riprap through the channel that'll help slow things down and keep it from cutting deeper. And then we also look at laying back our banks. So on the inside bend, we lay the slopes back, and then on the outside bend where there's more velocity, we add the riprap and keep the bank stable there. And then the bendway weirs, I know we've talked about those before. So really, those are groups of a riprap that basically slow the water down and divert it away from the outside bend so there's less erosion. So just kind of show you an example on the project that, you know, here's our rock riffle structure here. So it's in the middle of the channel to slow things down. Around the outside bend here, we got the riprap to protect the bank. And then the little jog outs here are the bendway weirs that help redirect the water. And then on the inside here is where we've laid the slope back. And again, then we'll do the same kind of thing on this outside bend. And we'll continue that through the entire project. So with that, I'd be glad to answer any questions.
All right.
I guess with this, is there any vegetation being added back at the end of the project, or inside the riprap, will any vegetation expected to be growing or not?
Not typically. You won't have a lot of vegetation, but the areas outside of that will.
And then the area that we need to take out trees to get in there, I'm guessing we're replanting back something.
We really don't have anything in this project, but there is the potential that we could plant some more trees out there. Again, we try to do them at different angles, so you can't really see it. So it's a matter of just kind of seeing what needs to be done, and we've got notes in the plans to try to work with the contractor to keep it as minimal as possible that we're removing.
Okay.
And we've called out, like we're missing a lot of the very big trees. A lot of it is some of the undergrowth that would be good to remove out of there as well.
Right. And then the other is, we're off by 16%. Is it materials, labor?
I think it's really, this is not as much a standard project, so it's hard to estimate what it's going to be. As you can see, we had a lot of bids, and they were a lot higher from other people, versus I think when we do our roadway projects, it's a little more standard, where here, you know, it's trying to figure out how long they're gonna be in there, you know, how much work they're doing, it's just a little harder to estimate.
Just didn't know if we're seeing any settling down of material costs, or if it's labor costs, or if you really could tell in the bid.
Can't tell yet, as I'd say, the 3 bids we've had so far are kind of non-standard projects for us between the buildings, the solar, and then a creek work, so after the first of the year, we'll start seeing more of our normal. I still think there's gonna be project increases, just a matter of seeing how much.
John, along those lines about budgets and expenditures and engineers' estimates, so the budget amount is what we approved last year. When is the engineer's estimate come in? Those are different?
Correct. So the engineer's estimate, I usually get those and I factor that into the CIP, but sometimes I put an extra cushion in the CIP so we
Okay.
have the funds. And then as far as this project here, we had that one time a couple years ago where we bumped it to 650,000. So this was intended to be there. We'd originally thought this could be in the $700,000 range. Now, it's not the 400 that was estimated, but it's still below that 650 that we'd originally budgeted for it.
So it's under what you estimated in the budget process, but over what
Correct.
you
But as they
estimated?
got the design more finalized and they
Okay.
refined it, they came up with a lower number. It
Okay.
just turns out, the contractor said, no, it's a bigger number.
Okay.
All right, we are in public hearing on this item. Excuse me, would anyone like to address the council on this item? Okay, seeing none, I'll ask for a motion to close the public hearing. Motion by Blake, second by McBurney. Discussion, please vote. All right, that passes.
Move resolution 281-2022.
Motion by Blake, second by McBurney. Discussion, please vote. That passes.
Move resolution 282-2022.
Motion by Blake, second by McBurney. Discussion, please vote.
Oh,
See what's going on here.
thank you.
I was reading through it.
That passes.
Okay, move resolution 283-2022.
Motion by Blake, second by McBurney. Discussion, please vote. And that passes. All right, thank you. That ends our public hearings. Item 7, regular agenda items versus item 7.1, and that's ordinance number 2022-23. And John, answer any questions if there are on this.
Well, I will very excitedly move the approval of Council Letter 7276.
Motion by Carberry Montgomery. Second. Second by Obrecht. Discussion, please vote. Okay, that passes. Item 7.2, consider the Iowa Department of Transportation pre-design agreement for US 6 Hickman Road interchange corridor visioning and planning. And again, John, answer any questions if there are.
Move approval of Council Letter 7283.
Motion by, excuse me, the motion by Obrecht.
Second.
Second by Blake. Discussion, please vote. All right, that passes. Item 7.3 is to consider the Urbandale Community Recreation Complex, and to introduce this is our Parks Director, Jan Herkey. Jan?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, very excited tonight to present this information. Nathan Harris with RDG will be presenting the information. I just want to do a brief introduction. In November of 2022, we had a joint lunch and learn. We shared some preliminary design ideas, summary of the community input we received, and the proposed amenities to be included in the community recreation complex, and very preliminary design sketches. At that meeting, you approved and directed staff to finalize the preliminary conceptual design drawings and proposed amenities in the facility for indoor and outdoor, and those will be included in the presentation. The staff has been working for the last several months to finalize this information, and the Park and Rec Commission also reviewed those and recommended approval for your consideration tonight. Also part of our recommendation tonight, through the process in the Urbandale Community Recreation Complex, it's kind of a long name for a facility, and staff has been proposing different names for the facility, and one is, as we have talked about, as we go out west of the community, sometimes people don't realize if they're still in Urbandale or not in Urbandale. So for an opportunity to firmly identify that this facility would be in Urbandale and to provide a memorable brand identity, staff is proposing that the facility name or brand be calling the UPlex, which would be short for Urbandale Community Recreation Complex. And the Park and Rec Commission were supportive of that recommendation and recommended that staff move forward with it. And our recommendation for you tonight is the same. And if approved, staff would compose a brand strategy, a logo, color palette that we'd bring before you, and a few options for consideration with the name of UPlex. So again, Nathan Harris is here with RDG, and he will show you the updated design plans and cost estimates and so forth. So.
As Jan said, thank you for the opportunity to come and present the work that we've all been putting in the last couple of months. And with that, I'd like to share what we've been working on. So quick looking at the program initially, then understanding we've put together conceptual design, floor plans, and 3D renderings, pulled together a preliminary budget showing alignment with the given target, and then our partner with Ballard King will be sharing the operations plan that aligns with the planning going forward. So with that, I'd like to jump into the program itself. Outdoor amenities first. We have considered and are considering the following elements to be found on the site. The bolded items in particular are those that were most favored from the community input that we had, consisting of a number of open houses and an online survey. So the most popular being that spray ground, regional size playground, and outdoor activity space. In the future site plan, we will kind of identify the locations of all of these in a conceptual idea. Indoor spaces would consist of about 65 to 70,000 square feet of the program elements or spaces listed below. Once again, the bolded items are those that were most favored by the community input, being the multi-purpose activity rooms, the wood gymnasium, the walking track, and the indoor playground. Other items that we've been considering during this conceptual design are some of the green strategies that could be utilized throughout the site and the building itself. So working with the team, we have identified some of these that could be implemented, all of which are under consideration moving forward into the design past this conceptual phase. Next, I'd like to move into the conceptual design itself. On the left is kind of an overall site plan with Meredith to the north of the site, 152nd along the west edge, Aurora to the south. The development has been located along 152nd, being the main entrance and exit into the facility. large parking area on the west side, maintaining open space for the future amphitheater currently shown in the master plan to the south of the site. On the right side of the image, kind of a zoomed in view of this, showing 420 stalls relative to the program that has been established and the occupant load of that building. Located underneath the parking stalls themselves would be the geothermal opportunity to feed the building itself. To the northeast corner in the upper right would be retention that would take place from pervious parking and building. So being able to keep as much of that rainwater on site and detained and not overload a storm system. Within the parking itself, looking at rain gardens as well to offset some of that. Shown on top of the building would be an opportunity for a PV array that would sit on top of the large gymnasium volume, so a good flat square footage for that application. To the south of the site would be the regional playground, the spray ground, and kind of some of those other outdoor activities on the southern edge. On the north edge, forgot to mention the pickleball would be located just north of the building. And then the main entry court and drop-off lane would be kind of right centrally located at an entrance point into the building here. Adjacent to the indoor play structure would be a small outdoor play structure on the west side, and then a large outdoor exercise terrace on the back side of the building associated with some of the lower level amenities. Jumping into the floor plans, the site with its large slope allows for somewhat of a walkout basement approach. So the plan on the left would be the entry level, kind of a one-story volume from the west side. You would then navigate down a stairwell or an elevator to the lower level, which then opens up to that activity terrace on the back side or the east side of the building. The main entry point would be here at this blue arrow, moving through an entry point into a large gathering space here centrally located in the yellow, allowing immediate opportunities to go to an outdoor patio space, having that direct connection to the site through the building to the east. Right inside of the door with this brown volume would be the administration offices. On the other side of the entry would be an indoor play structure. Associated with that would be smaller rooms, party rooms that could be rented as part of that indoor activity space. From the central gathering area, you could then move directly to the walking jogging track to the north, allowing for a 10 laps to 1 mile track in an elevated location associated with the gymnasium volume itself. From the entry point moving south would be the majority of these green volumes are the activity spaces or the community meeting rooms of different varying sizes. So 3 of these along the south facade, and then located largely down here at the south end is the extra large community room that could be divisible and split into two rooms at this point. The brown volume associated with that is the warming kitchen for that could be used by a caterer that would come in and provide catering for any activity or event going on in that multi-purpose room. The blue volumes here are indoor restrooms and outdoor restrooms. So the 2 smaller locations right along the exterior would have direct access to the outdoors and would be able to serve the regional playground to the south, or would be accessible for exterior patrons to use that after hours without getting into the building itself. Also locating these toilets to the south allows us to shut down the corridor for after hours and allows an evening event in the multi-purpose room, meeting room to the south, and it allows us the ability to close off the rest of the facility. Right here in the stair and elevator, right inside the front entry gathering space would be your way to move down to the lower level, where you would enter this large gathering space here in the yellow as well. Once again, direct access out to the activity terrace. Moving directly into the gymnasium to the north, consisting of 3 basketball courts in scale. Large gray space is storage for that gymnasium. The blue volume here would be locker rooms, thinking general open locker area, and then individual showering, toileting, and sink rooms within that volume. Then moving down the corridor, supplying 4 multi-purpose activity rooms for programming of different sizes. Once again, the largest down here, once again to the south. This kind of gold region in here would be any sort of wellness, stretching, gathering area outside of these multi-purpose activity rooms. Moving next into some conceptual perspectives of the building, giving an overall massing of this and trying to help understand kind of the scale at which the program is planned for and how this might sit on the site. So first here would be the entry perspective. This blue car is sitting in the drop-off zone. So as you've come right off of 152nd, pause at a drop-off zone, direct quick access to the entry, and then could go off and park from that point. Here at the entry is entry court, space for bike parking, space for activity gathering before moving in or out of the facility itself. Gymnasium volume sits over here to the left of the image, and the indoor play space sits right here in the central portion, just adjacent to the entry.
Can you see in this view, I mean, I'm assuming it'd be to the right, where the access to the outdoor restrooms?
Yeah, it would be right in this area here, on that northern, or sorry, the southern portion there. So it'd be a lot more visible from the regional park and the spray ground to the south. Next, kind of move down to the perspective of someone moving in and out in more of a night shot, kind of pronouncing, using the roof structure to pronounce the entrance, making it a clear element as you approach the site and move through the parking. Once again, visible, high visibility of the indoor play structure. Now we've moved to the east side, so this is the 2-story volume as we've kind of come to the walkout basement approach. Off to the left of the image would be the large, or the extra large multi-purpose room. Right outside of that would be a patio space that would be associated with that, that room in particular. Down below, you can see activity going on in the activity terrace. This kind of allows us to create controlled outdoor space associated with the facility itself. Here centrally located is that those lobbies and gathering space right inside the entry and associated with stairs and elevator, and then the gymnasium volume off to the right. This would be the far north end of the site, so looking at the gymnasium volume and the pickleball courts that would be associated or located just north of the building itself. Once again, convenient parking right next to those courts. Would also plan for outdoor lighting of those courts, so for after hours, they could be lit. This would be an image, aerial image of the regional playground, spray ground, and kind of bocce area. So sitting just to the south of the building itself, in an associated parking adjacent to that facility. Moving inside of the building, right here centrally located would be that main entry. So we've kind of come in and looked back at the entry, be the stairwell down to the lower level, the kind of front desk location for check-in, for directions, and then views into that indoor play space as well. Moved into the gymnasium. We're on kind of the far north side of that jogging walking track, looking back to the south. So this would be that main lobby entry gathering space on the upper level. Similarly, this would be that same space on the lower level. Looking at views to the activity terrace out to the southeast. And then this would be the large multi-purpose community room to the south of the plan with that associated patio space outside. Moving next to the budget alignment. Bond referendum target of 43 million allows us a targeted construction cost of 31.6 million and then a soft cost target of 11.4. All these are $22. We've then escalated those in the next slide to show how that breaks down a bit further. But these are our targets for construction and soft costs. A lot of information here, but what I'd like to point out really are kind of some subcategories. So on the left would be all of the indoor building elements. So we've kind of broken down support spaces, making up about 6.6 million of that target. The meeting and multi-purpose activity rooms making up another 6, and the gymnasium track volume would make up about 8 million. So target for that construction of the building would be at 20.6 in $22. Applying a design contingency, obviously these are conceptual plans, we still need to accommodate development, so that building target would be about 23.7. Then looking at outdoor facility amenities, being the spray ground, the pickleball courts, the activity space, and the covered area, we're looking at 2.1. The regional size playground itself is a different line item on the CIP, so that's not included in this particular budget. So that's why it has been excluded. So those outdoor amenities looking at 2.1. Then the site development itself, anywhere from parking to landscaping to stormwater management, making up that 4.6. So site target being at 6.8. Design contingency brings us to about 7.8. Bottom line here in the lower right would be $22 probable cost of construction, looking at 31.5 million. Add on inflation to get it to the midpoint of construction of 24. We're looking at 34 million, and then soft costs associated with that get us to that 42.8, right at that 43 target. Then next I want to turn it over to Darren to talk through the operations plan.
Thanks, Nathan. Can you guys hear me okay there?
Yes, thank you.
Hopefully. Thank you for the opportunity to present this. So the Allard team was responsible for putting an operational plan together for the proposed facility. So here's some of the assumptions that we went ahead and used in developing that. Hours of operation, approximately 7 to 10, Monday through Friday, 7 to 7 on Saturday, and noon to 7 on Sunday. We identified the various part-time staffing positions and the hourly rates of compensation for those positions. Also took the time to identify the new full-time positions that would be needed to go ahead and operate the facility and use the benefit factor of approximately 35%. The final step of this in terms of developing some of the operational expenses was also taking a look at the 2 custodial staff that were going to be working over the night hours. When we took a look at rate structure and the opportunities for revenue generation, this is not a membership-based facility. This is a facility that, fitness classes have a fee, recreation programs have a fee, but the walking track, the gymnasium, those areas are free to use by the public. So some daily drop-in fees that could potentially be associated with the facility. And again, these are comparable with other organizations in the area, and also having a markup for non-residents. And again, there's not a drop-in fee associated when you're participating in a program. We identified some rental opportunities in terms of the basketball courts, community and multi-purpose rooms. Really, a facility like this goes ahead and allows the department to greatly expand not only their own programs, but it also houses some of the programs that might be doing off-site. So it's really one of those where it allows you to perpetuate what it is that you're currently doing and expand as it relates to programming. So when we did this, we went ahead and mapped out a 5-year cycle. So year 1 being the first year of operation and year 5 being year 5. And we took an average of those 5 years to get these numbers. So approximately $1.39, almost $1.4 million in expenses, about $541,000. And that should be stated that that's new revenue. That doesn't account for any existing programs that might transition into this space. So it requires a subsidy of approximately $851,000 a year, or a cost recovery rate of 38.9%. Within that expense line item of $101,393,000, there's $75,000 baked in there that we went ahead and recommended go to a sinking fund, so that by year 4 and 5, when you need to go ahead and make improvements to the building or replacement of key items, there's dollars there to go ahead and do that. In terms of tax implications for $200,000 home value, it's approximately $119 annually. It's also important to note that as we work through these dollars, we work closely with staff to make sure that not only fee structures, but hours of operation and programming was aligned with their current vision and mission.
Thanks, Darren. With that, I'd love to answer any questions that you may have.
My favorite subject is bathrooms. So I don't know if this is more for Jan or you, but would it be possible to have an alternate or something where we have like a structure at the regional playground / spray ground? I just see lots and lots of kids needing to change and use the bathroom while they're there. And then are the outdoor accessible bathrooms, are they like a single stall, or are they like multiple stalls, accessible? So like 3 or 4 people could be in there using the bathroom at the same time.
The current concept would have 2 single-use restrooms associated with that building. That chunk of restrooms is malleable, so we can put 3 or 4. We've also talked about that external structure that you'd mentioned, having those restrooms pulled out of the building and associated more with a shade structure or something with that regional playground.
I like lots of bathrooms, so I'm thinking bathrooms near the pickleball. I mean, I like the attached to the building ones, accessible to outdoors, but I also think closer, I don't know, to the spray ground and playground as well.
One of the things we did talk staff-wise as well as with RDG is the same thing. Obviously, some staff have young kids and adults with other activities, but one of the ideas is similar to what we have at Barrett Bowden or Murphy Park, maybe a type of restroom with a shelter closer to the regional playground area and splash pad. Obviously, everything tonight is conceptual, and things do tweak and change depending on if you approve tonight. As we move forward and pass a bond referendum in March, a lot will depend on what the bidding climate is, what supply costs, and so forth, is how much that we can get for that 43 million. But we certainly will look at those we know restrooms are very key for activities.
Just an aside, I'd like to see us consider using the adult changing tables in those facilities as well.
Absolutely. We're looking at those at any of the new facilities, so.
And so I have two questions. First is the Uplex branding. I like it. There's one part of me that when it comes to components of it, for example, the regional playground, will we have an ability to name those separately? And I'll be frank, and I didn't mention to him, we do have a mayor that's sitting up here that doesn't have much named after him, who's been a mayor for 20 years.
Is he gonna make a donation?
I don't know. Well, but that would be something I would be interested in looking at, if that's possible moving forward.
One of the discussions we have of certainly area facilities have different sponsorships and donors and so forth. Staff is working right now on that parallel in regards to bring to you as a council of a sponsorship and donor policy that gives us some guidelines. But certainly, if and when the bond referendum passes, we would be looking at all those opportunities similar of the facility in West Des Moines, of you could have either the whole facility or components of that. So having the leeway to be able to set, right, once we find out what the facility will cost, and then breakdown of what would donor opportunities provide.
And that brought me to actually you answered my second question, because when I was looking through Mid-American, I was looking through the Alba Senior Rec Center, and then I was seeing how much money that they found from sponsorships to offset, which it sounds like that's in the works, and that's a plan. So that's a question I have, that if we pass this bond referendum at X amount, and we do find $5 million from Mid-American, for example, like the Recplex did, would that offset and we wouldn't utilize that funding then? Is that how the plan would go then, or how would that interact with it then?
That would, I guess, be a decision by council if we're able to do more than at the facility. Instead of 4 pickleball courts, we're able to do 8, or instead of a certain size spray ground, we're able to do a larger one. A lot's just going to be on the costs in the bidding climate at that time, but that would be a decision by council at that time if it offsets. What we're looking for tonight is if the amenities that are proposed are you're supportive of, moving forward, essentially what you saw tonight would be pretty much what we would be going for with the community campaign. We already have probably 11 community meetings with civic groups and 4 community input sessions, and certainly every possible meeting we can do in January, February. That's what we're looking for tonight is, are we on target? Are you comfortable with the cost? We would then plan to come to you at the next council meeting with the language recommendation for the ballot, and then a decision on the not to exceed number.
One question, the name Uplex, and I know I might love it, but a quick Google search says it's a registered trademark name. So we might want to clear up if that is a name that we can use or not use.
We actually did that search too, and I didn't see that, but.
Yeah, there's a medical company in Maryland that has
to be a.
But I know that registration marks can be different based off of different things, but it's, just make sure it's something there. Valley Church has got a complex over by it in West Des Moines that's got, the basketball courts and indoor play area. Where they make most of their money is at a coffee bar inside. Is there any sort of idea of coffee, juice, some sort of retail space inside of this, or?
That would be a decision at the time. Right now, we call it the nutrition area. If it's vending, if it's concession, if it's a outside entity that comes in. One idea even is it a drive-through? We work with Starbucks or a coffee vendor where you have an outside drive-through. Those are all things, again, once you get a bond referendum passed, what that square footage could look like. is what we're looking at right now, and the cost per square footage. So all of those things would need to be decided. Right now, it's conceptual, past the bond referendum, then the firming up, what does that space look like, and to that capacity.
And then we're saying it's $119 tax impact on the financials, and is that just for the bond, or is that for the bond and the $1 million a year operating cost?
It's for capital and operational.
Okay, just wasn't written up that way in this or on the slide, so it looked like that was just the bond number, so I was just curious. And for me, I mean, that's my struggle, is I think annual operating cost of this is large to me. So, finding revenue sources, finding ways to get donors, while I don't know that we have billionaire donors that live in Urbandale that have funded some of the other ones around the metro. Yeah, it's a big pill to swallow, and we also have other large, I think, more critical infrastructure needs in the community.
And as we put the operational budget together, we did keep in mind in the input we received in regards to, this isn't a membership based. We don't want to charge large amounts when you come in. Certainly that's the balance then of, you've got to operate and pay for the building. So drop-in fees, the walking track is free, certainly paying for rentals and so forth, but you could charge a lot more, but I think that was the directive that we were given in regards to, let's make this a community facility that it's not a high cost to go to.
What does the drop-in fee get you access to?
We're anticipating right now, similar to other communities, if you come and play pickleball in the gym, it might be $3. Coming use the playground might be $2 or $3. The walking track would be free. So those type of, the gyms, playground, and the question in regards to the playground, one of the things that we were considering is if that's a way to be able to control some of it, but also we'd have resident, non-resident differences then in the fee for both the rental, as we do with other rental facilities, as well as for these drop-in fees. Otherwise, example, you could have 3 daycares come and fill up the playground, and if it's free, but also minimal cost recovery, but there is some type of cost recovery then. And it's pretty consistent. You talk to any pickleball person that goes to indoor pickleball, there's a nominal fee at most places that I understand.
So would there be different times of the day that the gym is set up for pickleball versus other, volleyball or basketball or free game? I don't know.
Yep, and that is our plan, and certainly that's going down the line of the programming part once we do pass the bond referendum, but certainly we would be programming a lot of this facility, but certainly similar to what we did at the pool, there's open swim time, there's program time, so certainly there's time for open gym time. Times for pickleball is going to be these days at these times, so certainly it's all related to the programming schedule that we would develop.
So I guess I have more questions about the programming, and I know you don't have that figured out, but I see just lots of rooms in here. So are we going to be seeing, activities every day being offered in these rooms?
Yeah, as one of the reasons we have found the need for this facility in our master plan says we have 3 indoor enclosed park shelters for all of our programming. We can't do any more programming because we're at capacity, very limited access to the gyms at the school. So we are very optimistic that we would be programming these pretty consistently.
Council letter 7281.
Okay, motion by Blake, second by McBurney. Any further discussion? Not, please vote.
We got a question for AJ related to, you said that, or Jan said, and you said.
That passes?
It's gonna be on the agenda to affirm the language for the ballot measure for next meeting.
I think it's the 27th we have plans for, yes.
Okay, so again, given the attendance projected, is there any sort of super majority or anything needed for that action?
No, you just need to have a majority of the council that approves that as any motion that you would make to establish that bid date. We work with the county to make sure that we meet the prescribed timeframes for filing and for advertisement for that. So the 27th gives us enough time within those parameters to meet that. And if there is a quorum for the council, you have the opportunity to vote on it.
Okay.
All right, so we'll bring that forward then on the 27th. Thank you for the great presentation. Look forward to it, so thank you. All right, item 7.4 is to consider the rental rates pilot program for the Lions Park Ralph Whitten Shelter. Jan, you're back up.
Before you tonight is a recommendation or a proposal for lowering the rental rates at Lions Park Shelter. We received a request to evaluate the shelter rental rates for all of our shelters. The last time that we made any changes to these was in 2013, so it's been a while. A previous meeting, we shared with you the information. We did a significant research of what all the area communities are charging for their different open shelters, and we found that the Senior Recreation Center was the lowest of the large shelter facilities, and Lions Park was in the middle rate of the shelter rental throughout the metro. The request was that we consider one of our shelter rentals for lower rental fees, because many families and groups in our community rent the park shelters for events that are larger than what they can accommodate in their own homes. And the effort to increase opportunities for community engagement, for residents to be able to connect with each other in an event at a park shelter. So by lowering the rates at Lions Shelter, we thought we'd try it for in 2023. On the council letter, you see that with our current rates at the shelter are from 8 to 4 is $175 for residents, which is about $25 an hour. The 4:30 to 10:30 is $150, and 8 to 10 is $300, which is about $21 per hour. Proposed rate is to 25% decrease for that 8 to 3, which would be $130 for that time frame. The 4:30 to 10 would be $130 as well, and the 8 to 10 would be $225. So ranging from $15 an hour to $21 an hour for the rentals. The current damage deposit, which is a refundable deposit for all of our shelters, if there's no damage done and they return their key, at the Lions Shelter, that currently is $100. We have been experiencing this past year some increased vandalism or increased where renters aren't doing their required minimal cleaning and so forth. We are recommending that if we decrease the rental rate, that we increase the damage deposit to $200. Therefore, if any vandalism is done, that would be offset with the damage deposit. The recommendation would be to start this January 1st, 2023, and to reevaluate this midway through 23. The goal, or I guess the evaluation would be, are we increasing the number of rentals that we have at the shelter by lowering the cost? I will mention that we currently already have 29 rentals for 2023. We are not recommending that we refund those renters the difference. Similar to if I go to Kohl's and buy something, it goes on sale next week, that's the price that I pay. So also, a thing to note is currently somebody can rent 365 days ahead. So if it's December 13th, they could rent anytime in 2023, 365 days ahead. With this decrease in rental rates and not knowing if that would go on into 24, we would not be able to provide that option then for any rentals in 2024. Our patrons have enjoyed that convenience if they're planning ahead for a year, and many do. So that might be a disappointing for some of the people with the effect of this. And also, We are not recommending that we change any rates for Giovanetti or for Senior Recreation Center. Again, those changes, we haven't done any increases or changes since 2013. And also, as outlined in the in your memo, is the rental rates, by lowering it, would pretty much cover the cost of our cleaning contractor. In some, if it's a whole day rental, a little bit more than that, but that would not cover costs for any of our incidentals, the utilities. We had to replace the stove and refrigerator in the last 2 months. So essentially, the cost for the rentals would be covering the cleaning contractor cost, which we just got bids back last month, and the cleaning is $110 per event or per rental. So with that information, I'd be happy to answer any questions. I will share that the commission did approve this, and they did request that we come back to them in June to reevaluate, and we can maybe make a decision at that time if it did make a significant difference in the number of rentals, and if it doesn't, then we can make a decision at that time so we can provide that opportunity for the 365 days ahead again for our patrons.
So the question on that 365 thing, is our rentals, if we move forward with that, so say come May of this year, you couldn't rent for May of 24 in that regard, is it because our system doesn't allow for a multi-tiered rate? So if you wanted to reserve, so it's our software basically is limiting us to say we couldn't do discounted rate for 23, normal rates for 24 if you want to plan ahead?
Correct. One is we don't, I guess we'd have to make the decision then if we are going to go back up or stay the same, and two, our system doesn't allow for 2 rates at the same time.
Okay.
I guess I would be okay with us just changing the rate to be lower and not have to prevent people from booking in 2024 and not have this be a trial. I mean, it's the least modern of our facilities. It's very functional, but I think we could just lower the rates and be okay with that and continue to let people book into the future. And if we decide, much like we're doing now, you don't get a prorate, we're not going to give you a refund. If we decide to raise the rates and somebody booked, they're going to get a deal if we decide to bring them back up.
And again, where essentially that'd be covering your cleaning contract and nothing else, so the city would be covering the cost, and that's certainly your prerogative. I also wanted to mention currently we have a fiscal year through June 30th, and our revenue projections are for the rate that we're currently charging. So if it decreases, it's about a $3,000 decrease in our projected revenue at Lion Shelter if we have the same number of rentals we did in this past year.
And when is the cleaning contract up for renewal?
We just renewed it, so it's a 3-year contract. Is that correct?
I'd be fine with Bridget's proposal of not making it temporary, just do it, and then not have to keep people from being able to do the year out. I would agree.
Any further discussion? Anybody want to make a motion?
Well, I guess I would, let me look at this. I would move to permanently reduce the rental rates at Lions Park, Ralph Wittern Shelter, starting January 2023.
Permanent is a long time.
Yeah, I was gonna say, maybe we should say.
Well,
We'll revisit it.
Until, yeah.
Well,
Permanently in the sense like until Kingdom Come?
no, we can raise them in the future, but not have this be a pilot program. That's what I'm trying to. So take out the word.
Have them reduced until it's revisited again, I guess is the right.
What do you got?
I simply removed the pilot program and have to reduce the rental rates at the shelter.
Reduce the rental rates starting January 1st, 2023.
All right, there's a motion.
Are you supportive of increasing the
I'll
damage?
second it.
Okay, we have a motion, is there a second? Amy seconded it, okay.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All right,
So we're voting with the amendment.
yes,
As amended,
with that as amended, yes.
We're not too powerly pro around here.
Clarification, to reduce
Well-
the rates, but to increase the.
Yes.
Deposit. Right. Thank you.
All right, that carries. And then, motion, or is there a motion to consider resolution 291, 2022?
Move approval 291-2022.
Motion by Obrecht. Second by McBurney, discussion, please vote. All right, that passes. All right, thank you. And then moving on, item 7.5 is consider the equipment purchase for the police patrol vehicle. John Conyer will answer any questions if there are any. John, is there a motion?
Motion to approve council letter 7284.
Motion by McBurney.
Second.
Second by Obrecht. Discussion, please vote.
Is this like our 5th meeting in a row of buying police vehicles? Feels like it.
we start keeping track, they just
Yeah.
Just keep sliding one in.
we start second.
Okay, that passes. Item 7.6 is consider ordinance number 2022-24 regarding elections, and introduce this as our city clerk, Nicole Wenders. Nicole?
I'll peek over my monitors over here. Mayor, members of council, this is the action item following your October lunch and learn session that would procedurally take us to the chapter 45 for our election methods. I can't do so many things at once. There we go. So just this slide just kind of reviews the impact on the voters and the candidates. The chapter 45 takes us to not having a runoff and not having a primary election. So it is a winner-take-all type of election. It doesn't also limit the number of candidates. So because there's no trigger for that primary, if you had 7 candidates for 3 seats, you would the numbers would simply work out among the 7 candidates, and you would take the top 3.
If you had 70 candidates, you'd still take the top 3.
Yes, there is no provision that limits the number of candidates, correct?
Don't jinx it.
That would be quite an election.
Yeah, student elections at Iowa State get weird, so yes, I've seen it happen.
So the only slight difference beyond just getting rid of the price is that the number of signatures would be more, right? Because it's 2%, but it's more, that was like 50 or 60, so it would be 75.
And the 2% is based on the election, the previous election. So each year we have seen some increases in our number of voters, especially as our population grows. So I would,
So this would actually just make it uniform. It'd just be 75.
yes, that number would not fluctuate as it does right now, yep.
I'll move approval of council letter 7267.
Motion by Carmen Montgomery, second by McBurney. Any further discussion? Not, please vote. We're getting there, folks, and we'll get you. All right, that passes. Before we get to the funding request, we'll quick do the mayor and council items. Adam, do you have anything tonight?
Good.
Amy, anything tonight?
No, I'm just excited to see multiple things come through tonight.
Okay. Bridget?
The going away celebration for Elizabeth Pursuti, the DART CEO, is next Monday from 4 to 6 at the Cheese Bar on Ingersoll. And I think most folks should have received probably an email invitation. If you haven't and would like to join us, please come on down on Monday. And also, I have been appointed to the CEO selection committee for DART, so I will be probably providing updates on that as we go along too. But we have an interim CEO starting, I think the 15th, or maybe she's already started, but she's the former deputy director of the MTA before it was DART, and then she went up and was the director at SciRide until she retired in, I think, 2019. Sherry Kyrus?
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Matt?
Thank you all for hanging out tonight. I hope you come back. That's it.
Larry?
Just real quick, I attended the Shop with the Cop right before the council meeting. It was pretty well attended. And then also we have Reese Across America this Saturday at McDivitt Cemetery, so please swing by, check it out. It's at 10 a.m.
Yep.
Unfortunately, I'll be the one that's giving the opening remarks, so join at your own peril.
And bundle up too.
And bundle up, it's going to be chilly.
All right, thank you, Larry, on that one. All right, we are to the point of the external organization funding request. Again, thank you for hanging in there with us tonight, folks. This is the annual presentation for the different organizations for the funding requests on the outside funding. So I may sound like a broken record to everyone that has been here before, but I just do want to repeat some things. First of all, thank you. As we go down the list, look at all the organizations that are on this list. We know you all impact Urbandale in a positive manner and do such a great job for us. So you wouldn't be on this list or looking at this if you didn't. So thank you for what you do on behalf of our city. And this is our way we can hopefully try to leverage some of our city dollars into the community, into your organizations to further impact positively our community. So thank you for what you do. Certainly the requests, we get a lot of requests on this. Obviously the list is long, as you can see, and we probably will not be able to honor all the requests to 100% of what's been requested. So, but do know that we look at everything very carefully. We will have a subcommittee that reviews all of this in early January to take a look at this and make a recommendation to the council. And then the full council will make a final decision as we go through our budget process in January. So nothing will be decided tonight. We were going to listen to you tonight. The council will have an opportunity to ask any questions of each of your organizations as you make your presentation. And then, again, we will review everything in January and make this a final decision as part of our budget process. So with that, what I'm going to do is just go straight down the line of the organizations that are listed here. If for whatever reason, if there's an organization here that's not on the list and we don't cover you, raise your hand before we get out of here. But I'm just going to start from the beginning and thank you for being here tonight. Thank you for hanging here with us. So first is the Urbandale 4th of July celebration. Larry?
Larry Jablonski, 211 Crosswords Court, Polk City. I'm applying for this, or this is actually Mary Paulson is the person who applied for the grant, being an Urbandale resident, and but she's enjoying the warm weather in Florida, so she asked me if I would come and take her place. Our request is the same as it's been in the past. We did consider asking for more. However, because obviously with inflation and everything else, we know that our fireworks are going to be considerably more than they were this year. But we have a sponsorship program, and Ray Main and Raquel that has worked really hard with that. And the business sponsor, the Urbandale businesses sponsored and helped out quite a bit last year for our event. So if you have when you have the opportunity to visit with some of those businesses, thank them, because of them contributing to the fireworks. We're keeping our request the same as the previous year.
All right, great. Thank you, Larry. Urbandale Little League.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, I'm Molly Olsowski. I want you guys to know that Urbandale Little League is an entirely volunteer, managed and maintained group. There are 25 of us that serve as the board of directors, and our goal is to continually work on improvements to our facility. We pride ourselves on the complex and work tirelessly to make enhancements. This keeps our facility and or organization a notch above the rest. To be such a highly regarded park by both participants and spectators, we must continue to make improvements. Oh, thank you for last year for approving our funding. We were able to purchase new steel wall batting cages, which greatly enhanced the performance and the safety of our athletes. This year, our request for grant dollars would be used for improving and maintaining the integrity of our fields. This will aid in the playability and safety of all of those who enjoy Northview Park. The specific requests are for field conditioner for 2 of our major fields, which is 2 of the 9 total that we maintain, a new commercial lawnmower, a backpack blower, which sounds silly, but if you've showed up for any of our spring cleaning days and given a rake, you'll definitely want to be the person with the backpack on, and a commercial bed edger. So again, all of these are for ground maintenance, field work, and grooming. So there are a lot of reasons that people enjoy Northview Park beyond just Urbandale Little League, but we think it's important to continue to reinvest in it to see for its future. So unless there are questions, thank you for your consideration.
All right. Great. Any questions? Great. Thank you, Molly. Appreciate it. Urbandale Community School District.
Good evening, Mayor Andeweg, esteemed board members. My name is Ted Brimeyer. I live at 4510 96th Street. I am representing the vocal and instrumental music programs from Urbandale High School this evening and requesting $3,000 for 2 separate projects. The first is to fund the second half of a commission of a new choral wind band work by Dr. Michael Galimo at Iowa State University. The first half of these funds have already been approved by the Urbandale Education Foundation. We know that the city of Urbandale has a great reputation for funding and sponsoring public art. This would be a way to continue that in a new medium, a new genre of music that would reach our combined enrollment of 470 students at the high school. Additionally, we would request the second half of this grant would go to fund a capital purchase of an auxiliary percussion cart. So, Council Member Obrecht, I believe you have a percussionist at home, so this will keep those instruments safe at school and not in your house. So that's the details of our request today. Happy to answer any questions.
I guess I didn't get in what was submitted about the special
commission?
music.
Yeah, so.
Is there a way that we can, I'm very excited about that, and is there a way that we can make sure that the wider, I mean, other than inviting people to attend the choir concert, the band concert that's already packed your auditorium, a way to make that kind of accessible, I guess, to the community, I don't know, through our websites or, I don't know, different.
We can absolutely do that.
Love to see it.
Yeah, since it's
or something through the library.
Sure, yeah, since it's a newly commissioned work and, you know, as long as we would get permission from the composer to create a video recording of that and then disseminate that publicly, we could even make that part of the final contract to award that commission.
At times, there has been a performance of students standing around the outside edge of this room performing a piece though too, so.
I mean, that is always a good option.
There has been historical precedent for that, for sure.
Yes.
All right. Any further questions? Great.
Thanks so much.
Appreciate it. Waukee Community School Foundation.
Hey, good evening. I'm Adrienne Tao. I'm the Executive Director of the Waukee Community Schools Foundation. First, thank you for the funding that you gave us last year. It enabled us to purchase a number of musical instruments for our students, our Urbandale resident students. So I'm sure you're familiar. We have over 2,700 Urbandale resident students currently within Waukee Community School District, which is why we're here. And next fall, we will be opening up Waterford Elementary, which will be almost exclusively, if not exclusively, Urbandale resident students. So our request is for $2,200 to outfit what is called a gross motor skills room. If you're not familiar, it's for students who are atypically developing and need additional support in play spaces, the type of equipment that they have access to, as well as the type of stimulant environment that they're in. The equipment is everything from very tangible equipment that they're playing on, climbing, that kind of thing. It's also art-based equipment, so it's music, it's creation-based, it's a number of different things. The exact purchasing list will be determined by Waterford Elementary students once we know who the teachers, once we know who the roster of teachers are. Our budget was based off of, we just built out a gross motor skills room at Sugar Creek Elementary, which we opened this fall. And so we just took the budget that we had created for that one, duplicated it to this budget, but the actual items will need to be selected by the teachers for Waterford. That is our request. Any questions?
Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you. EGRA.
Good evening, Tracy Froley, the board president for the Urbandale Girls Recreation Association. Thank you, I'll reiterate, I'll say thank you very much for the funding from prior years. Last year we were able to use, or we will be able to use funding to help replace some siding that's gone bad and get things in shape so we can paint our facility. So that's one of the big things. And then we also have some concrete repair that we want to take care of for some runoff issues that are impacting our fields. So being able to save our fields will be critical for, obviously, softball. This year, we're asking for $20,000. $15,000 of that will go towards upgrades to our concession stands and restrooms, and electrical, plumbing. There's several needs. These are the things that we have not had an opportunity to improve over the past several years, and it's time for some fixes to those amenities. So that'll be $15,000, and then $5,000 that request would be for our parking lot payment, which is an annual payment to allow access to the facilities for our folks.
Okay. Any questions? All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. The Greater Des Moines Partnership. Mike?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. Thank you for having me today. My name is Mike Swayze. I'm the Executive Vice President of Economic Development at the Greater Des Moines Partnership. For those of you who don't know, the Greater Des Moines Partnership is the regional community economic development and advocacy group in central Iowa, representing 11 counties and approximately 150,000 in population, so approximately 29% of Iowa's population. We have submitted our results for 2022 and then our work plan for 2023. And so I won't read them all to you because they've been submitted, but I do want to point out a few highlights of our work. In 2022, we hosted 33 outside prospects into the market so that we could show off the market and hopefully land companies in your specific city. We also have a robust existing industry and business recruitment and expansion, our business retention and expansion program. And last year we had 325 meetings with existing companies in the region, many with Curtis and his team, and I think the mayor's probably been in quite a few of those as well. We also developed this year an monthly email blast that goes out to right now it's over 700 corporate executives, decision makers throughout the country. It's just a quick hit highlighting 3 or 4 items to brag about in our region, and we're growing that to over 1,000. And then another point of emphasis for our group is to get the Des Moines International Airport Terminal project over the finish line. And so in the past year, we were successful in helping the airport raise over $92 million. And so we will move forward next year in helping get the project fully funded. Moving forward, so for 2023, we are implementing a new site readiness program, which would be office and industrial sites. So we'll have a database of sites that are ready to go. So when we get the request for information from prospects, that we have a quality list of sites in the region that we can market and be ready for growth. We also will target at least another 300 existing industry meetings. We will target 75 new project leads to the region through our marketing efforts. And through our marketing efforts, we will visit at least 8 markets outside of Iowa, promoting central Iowa to business leaders in those markets. And then our goal is to assist at least 30 companies in the region, whether it's a new company or expansion, working with our partners on helping companies grow. In the past, we have, for the past 5 years, we have requested $30,000 annually. And thank you for that investment. And I forgot to mention, maybe I did mention, the Greater Des Moines Partnership was established in 1999. And Urbandale was a founding member and has been ever since. So your support has been greatly appreciated and your partnership has been greatly appreciated. So thank you for being a member since our inception. And so moving forward, we're requesting $36,000 as an annual investment, which we would not increase for at least 5 years. So we try to keep our investments at the public level as minimal as possible. And our overall funding is just right about 90% privately funded, and then the 10 to 12% comes from the public sector. So we're very cognizant of keeping our request as low as possible. So this year would be $36,000. Any questions?
All right. Questions for Mike? No? Thanks, Mike.
All right. Thank you very much.
Urbandale Food Pantry.
Good evening, my name is Suzanne Benke. I live at 3109 146th Street, and clearly I am not Patty Sneddon-Kisting, but I am the board president for the food pantry. I'm happy to be here tonight. Thank you to all of you for the opportunity to speak in front of you and make this request. Thank you also for the support in the last year, not just from the council, but also from the community. It's been an unbelievable year for the food pantry. As you will see in our request, we are requesting an increase. And of note, I would put in front of you that we have seen a 50.7% increase in the number of families that the food pantry has been serving in the last year when compared to 2021. Now, at the same time, we've increased our food rescue partnerships, we've increased our advocacy efforts and fundraising, and we've brought on new food suppliers for sourcing food. The primary driver of the increase for our the increase in our requests is food prices and the increase in need. We've done this. I would like to really give Patty and her team. Patty is the only full-time employee at the food pantry. There are 3 part-time staff and 150 volunteers who are able to make the pantry operate. I'm happy to entertain any questions that you might have at this time or any other time. If you're wondering why Patty is not here, if you haven't seen her, she is obviously preparing for an addition to her family, and she is officially on maternity leave, so I'm happy to be here in her place. She says tomorrow, but this might be the first time she's let me step in for her, so.
I was gonna ask if there was a baby yet.
Not yet, and I was just texting her earlier, so if there's an appearance during the council meeting, I'll be happy to make that news available. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Heavily invested.
All right. You can sue.
She promised me she'd be there tomorrow when I go to the food pantry, so I'm waiting for her. My name is Sue Koch, and I'm the president of the Urbandale Community Action Network. I have lived in Urbandale for 35 years. Right now, UCAN is located in the west side of the Aldergate Church. We occupy 1,100 square feet there, and we really occupy it. We're really full, and we do a lot of stuff there. We have 3 different activities that we specialize in for the community. We would work with our senior programs, and if I went into each of these 3 different activities that we work at, I could be here until tomorrow telling you about all the different things we work at. So I'm just going to highlight a couple little things in each of our 3 different programs that we do. In our senior programs, we provide rides for our clients, approximately 300 rides in a year. We take them to appointments and bring them back to the doctor, to the grocery store, and different things. We also provide them with 3 meals today. We do a lot of food rescue. We get food from the Food Bank of Iowa. We bring them food for that. And then we do quarterly outreach to them just to make sure that someone is talking to the seniors in our area when they don't have family that's contacting them. So we have 2 full-time members in our 2 full-time employees, not members, full-time employees in our staff. And then we have hundreds of volunteers also working in our location. We also do have a lot of youth programs in our program. We did summer lunches this year. We had 115 lunches during the week, and we also packed up lunches for them to take home during the week. These are for kids that are home that don't have parents that would provide lunches for them, so we went to a location and provided them lunches. The school district provided lunches for kids at the school. These kids didn't have an ability to go to the school, so we went to them at the apartment building and provided them lunches. We also, before the school year started, kids that couldn't provide their own school supplies, we provided 600 backpacks with school supplies for kids in the Urbandale School District. We also provide backpacks for lunches for the weekends for kids at Olmsted School. We also provide backpacks and they aren't really backpacks, they're a grocery bag with food in, for Metro West students. And that's the school district or the Metro School for the alternate high school for all of the suburbs, but it is located here in Urbandale. For families, we provide cleaning supplies for the families. We provide diapers every week for families that do not have the money for diapers. SNAP doesn't do that for you, and SNAP keeps going down. We also do a mobile food pantry, which is similar to what the free room is at the regular food pantry. This is food that we have collected at like Aldi's, Quick Star, Target, and we hand that out to them. We also have quarterly clothing closets, and this is where we also provide clothing that we have collected, and we're working at trying to provide a clothing closet more than quarterly, as we can provide the area within Aldersgate to do this. Lastly, we're working right now on our holiday support, which is our Adopt a Family. We had 1,300 people that we're providing holiday support. In the 8 years that we've been doing this, I've filtered through the different papers every year. This year, I'm looking at the gifts that people are asking for. We're seeing more where they're asking for socks, underwear, silverware. Their gifts are being more the necessities. We're not asking for a movie of whatever the current movies are out there. Their needs are more personal. They're more in the needs of the personal things they have. I had 2 mothers that just asked for underwear. So our needs are more necessary now, and that's because groceries cost too much, gas costs too much. So again, thank you for everything you did, for giving us the money so that we could do this. And do you have any questions for me?
Questions for Sue? Thank you, Sue. Appreciate it. Thank you. And Urbandale Legion Post 663.
Well, good evening, Mayor and City Council members. I'm Michael Knight, the current post commander of Post 63 right here in Urbandale. We represent over 400 members of Urbandale. And my mission today is to hopefully ask for $1,175. We do appreciate your support in the past. We have two programs. One is for to support two young men to attend the American Legion Hawkeye Boys State. That's in June of 2023. That cost $500. The second thing is awards for American Legion 5th grade flag essay contest, and we hold that in Webster, St. Pius, and Des Moines Christian elementary schools. And what we do is we award a cash prize for first, second, and third place in each school, and pick an overall winner to represent our post in a district and then in a state competition. So these are good programs, and we do highly recommend them, and we've had good results in the past. Any questions? All right, thank you for your
Thanks,
time.
Mike. Thank you very much.
See you Saturday.
All right, have I covered all the organizations? I believe I have. That's what I have on the list. So again, thank you everyone for your presentations tonight. As I said, we will take this under consideration in January during our budget process. So with that, we are at the end of our agenda. We stand adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.